Hi, this is Roger in Finland, and today we're taking a look at the Blazar Remus 45mm T2 anamorphic lens with a 1.5 squeeze, and this is a review for normal people. And for the impatient ones, this is a small, compact, full-frame, affordable anamorphic lens with a 1.5 squeeze factor. It comes in EF mount, it comes in PL mount, it comes with blue flares or with amber ones like this, and it has character. In practice, when people use the word character for a lens, it means that it has flaws, and maybe you will like them. It has funky corners, it does have barrel distortion, it is not razor sharp, but I do love it. And now for some more details in this video, we're going to be using it with the A7 IV from Sony, like right now it's mounted on that, and you're going to see some samples which are shot in the Sony ZV-E1 as well. Some of the clips that you're going to be seeing, you might claim that they're a bit boring and always shot from the back. The reason is that the talent, or main character, there is my daughter, and I will not show her face in this channel. The shots came out beautiful though. And then, since this came in either EF or PL, why did I get which of the two? And then obviously I got the one with amber flares. This is purely a matter of taste. I am not J.J. Abrams, so I did not get the blue ones. And that's basically the reason. I like more a little bit the warmer feeling of the amber flares, and I really wanted to try. In the past, they had a series 15mm 1.33 squeeze for Micro Four Thirds with the blue flares, which were not nearly as nice as this, not just because of the color, but also because of the shape. So this time around, I went with amber. But then why PL mount? Oh, I mentioned it. About the mount, I got the PL mount instead of EF, and the good question is why. Well, now that Nikon has bought red, I expect that very soon Sony will buy ARRI, and we're going to have very soon, I suppose, the release of the ZV Alexa 1 and the ZV Alexa 10, one with full frame, the other one with Super 35. This will be vlogging cinema cameras, and I'm sure that they will come with PL mount, and that's why I got this one. And for those of you unfamiliar with sarcasm, the actual reason is that I do have a PL mount for my really tiny Micro Four Thirds cinema cameras, and I'm planning to mount this there as well, so I just went with the PL one. Today in this video, I'm going to be showing only with the Sony full frame cameras. I'm going to make a separate video because it's going to be a really different look and feel and field of view with the tiny sensor, tiny cameras. Now, with the size, I mentioned that it's small, but is it? Well, it's not small compared to a photography pancake lens, but if you compare it to other anamorphic lenses, especially other full frame anamorphic lenses, this is definitely small. This is often compared to the Atlas anamorphic lenses. I will never be able to compare them, but they are being compared to, and these are somewhat smaller. I suppose that you could compare it also to the Laowa Proteus ones. This is still smaller and cheaper. You can also be compared to the Venus from Shirui. This is also a little bit smaller and still a little bit cheaper. Still, the Proteus comes at T2.4, the Venus at T2.9, this is T2. I know you're going to stop them down anyway, but the starting point is a little bit brighter, so they should allow for more light. And if you go for the T2 soft look, that's also a possibility. And then if you compare it to the super high-end, tens of thousands of dollars price anamorphics, which again I will never get my hands on, this is definitely small. It's somewhat light as well, but that comes with a really big asterisk and a but. B-U-T. So let me grab my notes. The lens itself is 754 grams, which is not super light compared again to a plastic micro four third kit lens maybe, but it's not a super heavy lens for sure. The ZV-1 as a sample, so I've been mounting it on this thing. This is 483 grams, body only including the battery, but the PL adapter from PL to Sony E, I got the Metabones one, that's 426 grams. So the adapter is almost as heavy as the camera itself. So what I do when I mount it or when I use it with the ZV-1, I put my tripod plate on the lens adapter rather than on the body itself, and that balance is nice on a tripod. If you're expecting me to say gimbal, I don't have or use gimbals anymore. But still, if you think about all together, the pack of the lens, the adapter, and the Sony ZV-E1, that's still around 1.5 kilos, which is totally fine. By the way, if you're using this lens handheld on a camera with IBs, please remember to set correctly the focal length. So the Sony ZV-1 has a really good dynamic stabilization mode. It does crop in quite a bit. I think it's 1.3 crop, but still it's very stable and really good. But usually the lenses talk to the camera, so the camera knows what to do, because the stabilization behaves differently depending on the focal length. This Blazar lens has no electronics whatsoever, so the camera has no idea what it's plugged in, and at least the ZV-1 defaults into the smallest, shortest possible focal length, which is 8 millimeters. And as you can see, even with the dynamic stabilization, it doesn't work at all. It also tells of how not good a handheld shooter I am, but that's my problem. Maybe you don't have that one, good for you, but I do, so set it correctly. If I set it at 45 millimeter, then this works really well, handheld with a camera like the ZV-E1. Now a good question would be, who is this for? I mentioned in the very beginning that this is a review for normal people, and what I meant by that was people who are not cinematographers or not filmmakers, mostly hobbyists. So I do apologize if you're a cinematographer and filmmaker and you made it this far. I'm hoping to really learn about the lens, but if you're a hobbyist and you just want to have some fun, try something new, try an anamorphic lens, you're comfortable, or you actually really want to try a fully manual lens, this can be really fun, and it's really reasonably priced. This is cheaper than many normal photography lenses that you will be buying for your Sony cameras. So it's at that price point that you might want to splurge for it. And the price point, by the way, is around 900 euros at the time of release. And they have some discount that they have had for quite a while, so they might still have it. So for that price, it might be a really fun thing to try. And for instance, if you're asking just my own hobbyist opinion, I did not keep the IRIX 45mm that I've reviewed recently, but I am definitely keeping this one. And if you're wondering what is the 1.5 anamorphic factor, so that tells basically how much does the lens squeeze the image. So this is how it looks if I don't do anything to it unsqueezed, which is like look like this. But then when you squeeze it, you look a little bit more normal or cinematic, if you want. And in practice, the squeeze, of course, happens on the horizontal axis. So in terms of field of view on a full-frame camera, on the vertical axis, this is equivalent to a 45mm, but on the horizontal axis, this is equivalent to a 30mm. So it gives more breadth on the white on the horizontal. Then if you have been checking the Blazar Remus site, I can't remember. It's a Chinese company. I wonder about the name, because in English it sounds like the Blazar Remus. It could be quite French as well. And if this would be le Blazar Remus, or if I try to pronounce it in Spanish, this would be the Blazar Remus. Let's call it the Blazar. But if you go to their website, they do have the 45mm, this one also a 65mm T2, and then a 100mm T2.9. Question for me, why did I get the 45mm? My mostly used or my favorite focal ranges are between 35mm and 65. So I'm actually really looking forward to getting the 65 at some point, maybe, if I keep on loving this one. But this gives me the 45, which is somewhere there in the between on the vertical side and a little bit wider there. The other reason is that I will be mounting this on my really tiny censored and sized cinema cameras. And with that, I wanted the widest possible of the three, so that's why I got the 45. What you're seeing now is the Blazar Remus mounted on the Sony a7 IV. Obviously the B-roll of the lens itself, which is really pretty and beautiful, by the way. I know that this shouldn't be a reason why to buy this lens, but it is really pretty. So all that B-roll is obviously shot in something else. I haven't decided yet, but this talking head is shot in the a7 IV. The shots outside on the beach, the sea is still frozen, by the way. It's already April. Not frozen enough to walk on it, but anyway, those shots were shot in the Sony ZV-E1, and hopefully we're gonna get another video soon. I don't know what the definition of soon is today. Could be next week, could be next year, with some tiny cinema cameras. But I hope you got something from this video. Let me know if you're either interested or you already have one of these anamorphics. Do you have some other anamorphic lenses that you're using with your full frame cameras? I'm curious about that, especially if you're a hobbyist. So what kind of price points are we talking here? So let me know down below, and we're gonna see you soon for some more content.